the NFL also made a bold proclamation and said that the year of 2021 is going to be a year of fans in the stands once again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Things are going to be returning back to normal,
Sure.
whatever that means, right? I don't think anybody knows exactly what that entails yet. Um,
Right.
we don't know if it's going to be a state by state, stadium by stadium basis in terms of what that means and what that looks like. But on a general level, where do you stand on this whole thing, Andrew? Where do you feel? Because I'm kind of mixed. Right? Because it's exciting. I think it's going to feel good to see fans back in the stands again, but I'm nervous because we saw how quickly this whole thing can go to shit, for lack of better terminology, right? And my fear is that as a country, we get too caught up in the pleasure of things and lose track
Mm-hmm.
of what's really important, which is keeping this stuff under control.
Yep.
So I'm torn. I'm torn on it, to be honest with you, because sports is not a necessity. It's a
Sure.
luxury, right? And
Yep.
you can't allow a luxury to take the roof off of your head, right? And
Mhm.
so it's like one of those things, risk reward. Where is that at? I'm not sure.
I'll put your mind at ease for a little bit, just for a second. And I'll tell you why. Don't worry. Not because I don't believe in the coronavirus, but because I think this whole thing the NFL is saying, I think it's a PR play. They're saying, yeah, fans in the stands, it's going to be great. At the end of the day, there is no solidified plan for that. They don't have anything written on paper. They don't have plans written out that they sent out to stadiums to say, this is going to be our protocol. We're testing this. We're not testing. We're doing this. We're doing that. Masks, what type of masks? You can wear whatever mask you want. You don't have to wear a mask. They have not said anything like that. It was simply Roger Goodell saying, yeah, we want fans in the stands. We're looking forward to having all our fans, stadiums filled and blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, nobody knows what's going to happen in end of August, September.
Right.
Not to mention a week from now.
Right.
Cases, at least where we live right now, are on like a steady little incline, tiny little plateau. You have to keep eye on cases in your area, obviously. Around the world, it's still an issue. There are countries that are spiking right now. Granted, we're fortunate enough to live in a country where people are getting vaccinated. People are jumping forward and stepping up and doing what they need to do for the most part. There are always those vocal minority people that are taking things the wrong direction. But I think for the most part, people are doing what they're supposed to do. And I think that's great. However, people are also antsy.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
Catch me right now. You will not see me in an NFL stadium this year if the stadiums are full. I won't be there. The most adventurous thing I did since the pandemic since the pandemic started to like kind of slope down a little bit, I went to Disney World. And it was interesting seeing two different types of people, where there were people that extremely respected the boundaries that were set in the area. You have to stand on these markers. Let's watch out for people. We're keeping our masks on. We're only taking our masks off to eat, drink, or if we're socially distant from people, blah, blah, blah. And then you had the other group of people where there was someone who stood probably about 6 inches behind us, not minding their personal space. This is probably too close even without a pandemic at the end of the day. And we turned around and said, excuse me, can you step behind that line, please? And they openly mocked us. So there are two different types of people in this world, both of which will be in football stadiums if they are open. I do not feel comfortable doing that. Personally, I would not. Granted, every state is different. California, I would be very, very surprised if they had full stadiums this fall. Limited capacity, maybe. Florida, probably have full stadiums.
Yep. Texas will
Probably
have
Texas,
full.
probably full stadiums.
Yep.
New York might have limited capacity.
Yep.
It depends on where you live.
Correct.
And that's going to be a big determining factor. At the end of the day, the NFL is going to mandate that people do certain things in their stadiums.
Yep.
They're going to say you need to wear a mask. They might even say you need to wear a mask of this type. That's what Disney World does, and it works well. Some people get mad, but it is what it is.
If you don't like the rules, don't play the game, baby.
Exactly. You need to wear the
Sorry.
thing that, we are saying is scientifically proven to be more effective. Do I think it's a good idea to open stadiums in full by fall the way things are right now? No, I don't think it's a good idea. Granted, the world could be a very much different place by the end of August,
Yep.
by the beginning of September. So things could change rapidly in either direction. People could get their vaccines and be prepared and everyone's good, or maybe they'll even require that you have a vaccine to enter the stadium,
Now,
which
that
would be
interesting.
which would be an interesting thing, whether you agree with that or not. That's your own personal decision, but that is something that people are shopping around. In the state of Florida, they've made that illegal. You can't do that.
Yep.
In some states, they're saying we are going to push for that. So, again, whether you believe in that or not, that will determine whether stadiums can be filled and stadiums can be not. Me personally, I'll take the not. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. What are your views? Well, obviously, without getting too political on the whole
No.
thing. What's your ideal scenario for the NFL coming up this year?
You want to
With
know
everything
what?
the way it is now, obviously, because anything can change.
Right, yeah. Well, I guess we'll speak, if we're going to take present day and move it into the future, which, you
Sure.
hope and you pray that we'll make progress by then.
Right.
I really do believe it's going to be, like you had said, a state-by-state thing, right, Andrew? It's going to be one of those things where I think the states that have been very conservative and very strict up to this point are going to continue to be strict. So places like New England in Massachusetts, places like New York, places like California, places like Indiana are going to be very, very strict. They're not going to allow the nonsense to occur. I mean, you can call it what you want to call it. Places like Florida and places like Texas have been handling their situation. So I really do think it's going to be a state-by-state thing. But
Sure.
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, play at your own risk. If you want to play the game, be willing to accept the rewards of the game. And I think it all comes down to a personal decision. Because I think it would be a really big statement if the NFL said, okay, every stadium was open to full capacity. We don't care what you say. And people just say, all right, cool, I'm not going. You can open up the stadium to full capacity, but the people have to go and pay to go there. So at the end of the day, it always comes down to the audience. It always comes down to the consumer. And I think the same thing applies here. And I'm really curious to see what the mood is of the audience. I'm curious to see what the general consensus is of the consumer. Are they going to be willing to take the risk? Do they see the reward being worth the risk that they have to, harbor to go? Me personally, I'm going to sit it out for a while because, again, you have to look at both sides of the coin and think to yourself, all right, well, for every one person that's going to be very respectful of my space and respectful of me as I am to them, there's going to be one person that won't be, right? And I mean, listen, if there's knuckleheads at games that are fighting over teams that don't even know they exist, now, when it comes down to personal beliefs and opinions, we see what that does to people when you don't agree with somebody's opinion. Now you get two very heated things like that going at each other.
Combined.
You can imagine what's going to happen there. That could be an absolute firestorm. So for me, I'll sit it out. I'll stay on the couch. I'll watch NFL Red Zone with my guy. We'll keep doing our thing like we've been doing. Which is a shame, because you look at the schedule this year, there are some really good games, like Tampa Bay at New England.
It's be crazy.
Oh my goodness.
I'm pumped for it. It's gonna be so good.
Tampa Bay at New England. What?
Brady back in the house.
In a different uniform. That is going to be crazy. But, again, to kind of just finish this, I hope and I pray, that by the time the season comes around, we'll be at a point where we do have that mass vaccination or that herd immunity kind of factor kicking in to where everybody can go and enjoy a game. Because, hey, shoot, I would love to go see Tampa Bay play this year. I would love to go see the Jacksonville Jaguars play Denver or something of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Just small stuff like that. I would love to start to live life like everybody would, but...
I think at the end of the day, the NFL is going to make the correct decision in terms of stadium capacities on a whole. And actually, at the end of the day, the NFL hasn't been making those decisions.
Right.
Teams have been making those decisions with their states. So at the end of the day, teams will make the decisions they are allowed to make, and they will make the decisions that they feel they should make. And if the NFL feels they need to step in, they will. They've been very the NFL has been very
proactive.
Proactive, yes. They've had a lack of ignorance lately, at
Correct.
least, when it comes to big issues. And this is one of the biggest of them all. And I think they will make the right choice when the time comes.